It's too much for me. It's too much. It's too much.
I thought you were handling it well.
Yeah, I'm on the way. I just know that everything's about to take off for reasons which we'll get into in any second. Hey guys, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here, hello.
I wanted to do this episode for a while, and I've been racking my brains with the right way to do it. And we finally, in the new premises, have come up with an idea that I think will work.
Okay.
We shall see. So the question is, do I need a noise gate or not? And this goes back to, I've had loads of people asking about noise gates, but in actual fact, there's a bigger question about noise.
Normally what happens is we'll do a video, and we get two main comments. One is, how come your pedals are so quiet? What noise suppressors are you using?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is none. What tricks are you using? And the answer is none. And secondly, what noise suppressor should I buy? And the answer is none, usually. So we want to get into that a bit and see if that is too flippant an answer.
Yep.
Or where the interesting bits lie. I have one particular question which I'll raise in good time.
Okay.
Amps today?
Amps today. We have the Marshall. Come on, Dan. It's a 50 watt Plexi, 1959, 1967.
1959 is the 100 watt.
Right.
1987 X.
Why?
It's a good question because they have nothing to do with the years. And that's
Okay.
where the confusion comes. It's just a model number.
Right. 1987
X. X means it's got an effects loop.
Because
it's a reissue.
Right. Okay. And that's this one.
Because obviously it would never have had an effects loop back then.
Of course. So, and we do have that going through the power station. Just a hair of attenuation. I say hair.
It's quite a lot.
That's just fantastic. And then the second amp is the new Victory Countess Mark II.
Yes, V30 Mark II.
Get the more love.
That's the new crunch mode, don't you know, Dan, that wasn't there on the previous amp.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's got some Wampler reflection in the loop.
Wampler. That's nice.
I want to know how trebly this guitar is compared to that one.
Okay. It has more treble, but this is skinnier. It has more mid-range as well.
Yeah. It's a bit quiet. It's compressing more as well, I think. Interestingly.
Interesting.
I've chosen this guitar partly on purpose today because P90, vintage style P90, one of the noisiest.
Very
single
good.
coils
Very good.
Ever made. We'll get onto a Strat in a minute probably.
Okay.
And some humbuckers, of course.
So, first thing I want to have a look at.
Actually, we should hear the amps together because it is quite.
Oh, the amps together.
Quite a glorious noise.
There you go.
With telly. It's not every day this guitar gets a spanking, but I don't know. I think it just got one there thoroughly.
Right. I'm going to put on a high gain pedal, the Amptweaker Type Metal Pro, and you'll hear something in the background. There's just the type metal. You'll hear lots of things. You hear high frequencies, big fat one, lower mids, and lots of other stuff.
For the benefit of the video, I will edit this so that you hear that through our vocal mics, which will be a massively accentuated version thereof.
Okay.
And then you will hear what the amp mics are picking up, right?
Right.
So you'll hear vocal mics, which will be way, way accentuated, and then the
Okay.
amp mics. But what I can tell you is it's almost too loud to talk over and a little bit distracting.
Yeah.
And if we had anything that approaching that level of background noise in a normal TPS video, I would have a hissy fit and walk out.
Now, what is really interesting about that? We are using a daisy chain to chain, I think, 5 pedals together. The interesting thing about this is what's actually causing the majority of that noise is the big sky. But when you turn the big sky on by itself, you hear a little bit.
Just about here.
Just about. Okay, but because the fat metal has so much gain, what happens is, right, it's a digital noise, and that noise is basically filtered to ground. But because the power supplies are sharing the ground with the pedals, and there's so much noise in there, the Amptweaker is actually picking up that noise.
Yep.
Right, it's seeing that noise as an AC signal, big ripple.
Which is why when we say don't use daisy chains, they're rubbish.
This is it. Now, but what's confusing is if I turned on the fat metal and go, that thing's
Rubbish.
rubbish. In actual fact, it's not that at all.
Could you
If I
unplug the
just
big sky at the
unplug
moment?
the big sky. Okay, now everything else is still joined together, but just unplugging the power from the big sky, and that's the difference. So, again,
So my Amptweaker pedal is completely rubbish. It's causing loads of noise. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
It's amplifying the noise elsewhere. Now, to be fair, let's just say for a second, we've got some other noise going on here. We've got the mains hum of this amp.
yep. Oh, we're going to get to that because that's
And we had the gain, just the gain noise.
exactly. Yep.
So,
So
there are other
all
types
these
of
stages,
noise.
but all these stages we're going to go through.
Yeah.
The first thing, and arguably the most important thing I want to talk to you about, is power. And why it's important is because it's deceiving. You get this noise from something and you think, that pedal's noisy. In actual fact, it can be a pedal 4 or 5 down the chain that's creating the noise, which is being picked up by everything else.
How many boards have you done for people where they've gone, I can't believe the reduction in noise when you've sorted the power out? All of them.
Yeah.
And you can see the results of that on TPS. Watch the Kirk Fletcher one, the Matt Schofield one, Josh Smith.
Power. If you don't power your pedals right, nothing else matters.
Nothing else matters.
And we'll get to that.
What a
But
bizarre vocal that is.
yeah, so I'm going to take 10 seconds out. I'm going to get rid of this daisy chains because I simply cannot abide it any longer. And I'm going to put isolated power into these pedals. So a nice quick Scooby-Doo edit.
I want us to fade down with the noise.
Okay.
And I want to fade up with exactly the same pedals that you had on. So
Okay.
turn the fat metal and the big sky on. Actually, you don't even need to turn the big sky on.
No.
So we're going to... All that's on is both amps and the fat metal.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And go. Okay, so everything's back on, fat metal's back on, and that whistling and that low hum is gone. However, the noise isn't gone completely. Now, so the next thing we're going to have a look at is...
So just to explain that, you got rid of the
the whistling.
The whistling and all the digital noise being picked up on the ground.
Exactly.
You got that. You got rid of that by doing what?
By isolating the power to the pedals. Right? So, especially, well, no, everything. Everything really should have its own isolated power source. The Big Sky is designed to work off, a high current 9-volt isolated supply. That thing we did before, and it showed the Big Sky had noise. It's not saying the Big Sky is bad. The Big Sky is incredible, but it needs to be run off the proper supply.
Yeah. You don't put orange juice in your car, do you?
Exactly.
It needs
right.
petrol, so
exactly
it needs the right
right.
stuff in order for it to run properly.
Yeah.
God, what a fantastic analogy that was.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay.
Actually, it wasn't really.
So if
Orange juice isn't like petrol at all.
Diesel. You wouldn't put diesel in your petrol car.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's good. It makes some cars go fine.
Okay. Now, I'm going to put the tube screamer on.
Yeah.
Right? So, if you can have a play, this is both amps.
Yep.
So if we have a listen to that, the increase in noise by adding the tube screamer, it's very little.
Virtually zero.
Yeah, there's a little bit upper mids, but it's just very little. However,
Listen clearly.
it's great. However, what we're going to do now is add a treble booster. Okay? So if you can play. Now, if we have a listen to that noise, you hear that noise is in a different frequency.
Yeah.
Right. Because the tube screamer is boosting the mids, all right?
Cutting the treble.
And yeah, it doesn't have the same, exactly, it's got a bit of a roll off, but with the treble booster, because those frequencies are being boosted, and the gain is being added to those frequencies, so it's picking up noise around those frequencies, all right? But it's not bad. That's certainly, it's not crazy. However, if you just wind up your guitar volume, and wind it down again, do the same thing with the tube screamer. So you simply hear the noise clearer in the top end because that's the frequencies that are being amplified. Okay? So what we've just demonstrated there is the other thing.
The other thing, which we come on to. Just before we do.
Yeah.
That's not the worst guitar sound in the world, is it?
Amazing. That also demonstrated something, but I will get back to that as well.
That would cut.
Yeah. Superb. But that guitar cuts through anything anyway. Okay.
Sorry, I distracted you.
No.
It's right.
It's right.
Do you want to get onto the other thing now or not?
Yeah, let's do it. So, Power is huge. If you don't have your power sorted, don't expect to have a clean, quiet guitar signal.
And if you want more on that, watch our VUCP
Yes.
episode from months ago.
Yep.
Voltage, current, polarity, isolation.
Yep. Your gain pedals, certain gain pedals are going to be noisier than others and other frequencies. It's a, you know, if you think about, you know, gain, you're adding volume, you know, and that's what gain is. And it's going to be the way they amplify to create distortion in the clip. They gain by a factor of, you know, many tens. So that's where that noise is coming in.
Yep.
But the interesting thing there was with the treble booster on, if you have your guitar volume rolled down, okay, so this is the sound without the guitar, right? Now, if you wind your volume up, so if you have noise, the first thing you do is this: wind the volume down on your guitar. That will tell you whether the pickup is coming, the noise pickup is coming through from your guitar or after the guitar. Right? So before, when we had the Type Metal Pro on and the big sky was making all that noise, volume was turned off.
It's not the guitar.
It wasn't the guitar. But with this, we know it is the guitar. So, what do we do? There's electromagnetic interference, which can come from, it's all around us. We're in the studio, we've got lights. There is, you know, AC power. There's the stuff coming from the screens, transformers.
Pickups and love monitors.
If your house has dimmer switches, a lot of those dimmer switches they just create so much.
Can you remember the best extraneous noise we've ever had and where it was?
Fender showroom.
That was good.
That was really
but
good.
Even better, underneath Waterloo Station when we did the Boss event.
Oh yes, the trains.
Because there was underground trains above our head putting out whatever crazy voltage and electromagnetic crap that they put out.
Yeah, there's a story about a very famous studio that was near a railway.
Okay.
And they built the studio and ended up having to take the whole studio down and redo the foundations or something, because every time a train went past, it would create so much noise and interference. Anyway,
that's almost as stupid as moving into a new studio and not insulating the roof down, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing quite tops that. But so the thing with electromagnetic interference is that if there's one main source of it, if you imagine that there are waves coming forth from this interference,
waves,
okay,
man.
And it's hitting the pickups front on. So if I find it here, all right. So there's you know, these waves are coming in.
Shall I be waves?
You be waves. Right. So what's happening is they're hitting the front of the pickup. Now, if I move, okay, so I believe that may be the lights. Right, now if you look at it this way, the waves are coming through in this direction. Now I've moved the pickups so that they're not picking up, they're sort of what do you call, not parallel but adjacent.
90 degrees
at
too?
90 degrees too.
Perpendicular.
Thank you, sir. They're perpendicular to the wave, so they're not hitting
Right.
the pickup. So, and then I go back to the front.
Keep coming around.
So again, it's perpendicular, parallel, perpendicular. Now, that's if you have one main noise source. Generally, there's more. And when I'm here, it's not dead quiet. I can hear, there's other things going on, but that's the main source of noise.
Yeah. If you're doing your gig with whoever, and there's that really lovely quiet breakdown bit, and it all goes silent, and she's there singing and doing her lovely thing, and you're stood there like this, waiting for your solo. Just do that. She'll like you even better if you just do that.
She will.
Yeah. Actually, out of interest.
Oh, yeah! Okay, so I want you to do exactly the same thing, but with your 335.
335, yeah, I wondered when that was coming. Now, these humbuckers in this guitar are asymmetrically wound, so they're not perfectly hum cancelling, which is why they sound so good.
Very interesting. Okay, so back
contentious comment
to where you were.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
A lot better. That is truly magnificent.
Get on.
Right. Okay. So, humbuckers. You've got basically there's two coils, and they're basically wound the opposite direction, and the noise is picked up on one is also picked up on the other. But because they're sort of one's phase reversed, that reverse phase cancels that noise out.
Yeah. I mean, it might seem like a bleeding obvious thing to say, but they're called humbuckers because they buck the hum.
Exactly.
That's why they were called that.
Right. So that's what's happening with the guitar. That trick where you just find that quiet spot. I mean, it's a thing that you develop when you're playing, I think.
Yeah, totally.
And
because it doesn't matter when the I know. I was about to say, guys. I know people that have got in touch, saying, I just can't deal with the hum from my single coils because it's just I can't deal with it, and that's because they're sat there with the volume up, and exactly in my last demonstration there, going, I can't deal with it. It's too noisy, and sometimes it's a bit of pill to swallow to say that actually it doesn't matter when you're playing because you can't hear it. I'll go even further and say that for certain classic single coil guitars, such as that and the Strat, it's actually an essential part of the sound.
Absolutely.
So when you get into noise cancelling single coils, as good as they are and as noise cancelling they are, another contentious point coming, they do not sound like those pickups. They just don't. They don't. Which is not to say worse, it's to say not the same.
Yeah. Because if I get that noise, right, so that noise is what we're hearing in comparison to silence. Right? If I start playing, and again, throw some more gain on there. So when you're playing,
That's right on the edge for me, because when you're in your quiet bits, you could really hear it.
Right.
You could really, really hear it.
Right.
So I wouldn't be using.
So right, you wouldn't be using that much gain.
I wouldn't be using those pedals into a gain damp.
Sure.
Ever.
Sure.
I don't think. Maybe.
So then the trick would be. Finding that quiet spot if I really wanted to use that much gain.
Yeah,
so you've got it. It's a compromise.
Well, I don't know where this comes in your plan for the episode, but we're galloping towards the big problem for most people, aren't we?
Here we are.
Because neither you nor I use much high gain.
No.
Although, having said that, you stack a tube screamer, a fuzz face, and a manticore or clon type thing, which I often find myself doing.
Yep.
That is a crazy amount of gain, but it's not that kind of modern metal.
But you don't have the gain turned up on those. They're not.
No.
See, and that's the thing.
Apart from the fuzz, maybe, but that's a different thing.
We're using quite a lot of gain with these two. I love stacking overdrive, but generally it's soft clipping into soft clipping into soft clipping. As opposed to, what I will do is have say something like a OCD or a blues driver or something like that, and put a treble booster into it, which is a quite a high gain sound. But generally for the the big fat tones, it's done in small bits.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
And I think actually quite a lot of that gain is coming from because the V30 is on its crunch mode. So if we were to go to the clean channel, I suspect the gain would be a lot less. Let me just switch between the two. So turn, get me some gain. Let it hum.
Okay.
It's considerably more in the crunch mode. Why? Because you've got an extra, either a whole or half a preamp tube. Plus you've got a different EQ. Clearly hear the pushed mids. What's happening at the amp is making it all louder. And
I was on holiday in Cornwall, and this band was having a sound check at the I was just walking past, and I walked in, and this guy had a Marshall stack SG, really cool looking guy, magnificent beard, but it was a vintage style SG, quite low wound pickups, and the squeal coming from the amplifier was horrific.
Were they microphonic, or was it just normal feedback?
It was, well, he had the amplifier, like the treble turned right up, but he had the gain cranked. And with that sort of guitar, and he was like really loud, but with the gain absolutely cranked. And the feedback just coming into the guitar, he just couldn't control it.
Yeah.
And that's, that one thing is looking at how much gain you're using and how much gain you need. We're going to get onto some like heavier tones in a bit, but I've been listening to some like heavier bands like Slayer and Megadeth and things like that. And what's really interesting is a lot of these guys, you'd think with the metal bands that their gain is ridiculous. In actual fact, a lot of it isn't. Because a lot of these guys are doing these heavier rhythm. They're so fast.
I thought was in the room there for a minute.
They're so brutal. But they need, if that was really seriously like gain to the max, it's so mushy you lose it all. But if I turn that down and there's a little bit of you're still getting the pick attack on the front end.
We've got to do the cliche. And a lot of those guys are using much less bass as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
they'll take a lot, especially for the down tune extended range guys.
Yeah.
Because you think there's a lot of bass there, but there isn't. And back to your original point about Megadeth, Slayer, even Metallica, and certainly if you go before that, Van Halen, Sabbath, there's so little bass in those guitar sounds compared to modern guitar sounds. Yeah, the learning point from that really is, or at least the question to ask yourself is, do you need all that gain? And I can imagine lots of people looking blankly at the screen going, duh. But you don't.
Yeah.
To sound really cool, you don't need, like, there's a point where it's just causing you more trouble.
Absolutely. Because there's no more compression and there's no more gain, and all you're getting is that compression, and what actually you're losing is that attack.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to be aware of. But let's say you get to that point, it's like, actually, no, I've needed this gain. I've got really clean power. I've got everything sorted. But when I turn on my pedal, I get this. And that's too much for me, right? Then we start looking at noise gates.
Only then.
Noise suppressors. Then and only then.
Yeah, okay. So only when you've gone through your power and made sure you've got adequate power with great isolation.
Yeah.
Only when you've understood that a lot of it is coming from the guitar, and you can control that in other ways.
Yep.
Quieter pickups, physical position, and using your volume knob.
Yeah. The idea is not to mask a problem. Make sure the problems are sorted and that there isn't a problem, and then if there's still too much noise for you, that is inherent in either the amp or where the gain is being created, then noise gates. So
can I just make one last point about the ground loop thing?
Yes.
So the point of making sure your pedals are isolated is so that you eliminate ground loop hum, right? That equates to that is the same when you use more than one amplifier. It's the same thing. It's the shared ground creating a hum between the two amps. So in the same way that your pedals need isolated power, if you're using more than one amp, the second amp needs isolated.
An isolated signal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
basically,
it's the same thing.
You're after one path to earth, one path to ground, from here to ground.
Like me after a few beers.
Everything, several paths to earth. Yes, and that's once you've ticked all those boxes, the idea with noise gates is not to put a band-aid over a gaping wound.
Yeah, you might need stitches.
Exactly. Simon told us this story before, and you're not good with those.
Not good with those kind of stories.
Okay, noise gates. We've got two different sort of noise gates on the board. We've got the TC Electronic Sentry, which is an actual noise gate. It's very clever. You can actually gate several different frequency ranges, and there's tone prints, and it's very clever. But then we have the standard Boss NS2, which is the noise suppressor.
Used everybody.
Very common.
Are you about to tell me the difference between a noise gate and a noise suppressor?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. A noise.
I got up this morning for this.
So the noise gate, it's exactly what it says. It's a gate. So under a certain threshold at the input, the gate will be shut and won't let any signal through. But as soon as that threshold is raised to a point, the gate opens, and that's everything through. Right? The noise suppressor is different. It will suppress the noise, but still let other stuff through until the threshold is reached, and then it also opens.
Right.
But all it's doing is suppressing the noise, not the signal.
How does it know the difference?
It's listening to, like, it's not even top end, is it? It's
white noise.
White noise. If you
it knows.
It's clever.
Yeah. Now I'm guessing that the difference between a really good noise suppressor and a less good one, if a really good one does actually exist, that the good ones are really good at telling the difference between what's noise and what's not noise.
Yeah.
Because presumably, it's a bit like if you use a de-esser or if you use any kind of corrective software on anything, you get rid of the stuff you don't want, but you also get rid of some of the stuff that you do want.
Absolutely.
And it's borderline impossible to only get rid of the crap.
Yeah. And with the noise gates, it's about how good it is at triggering, and so that it doesn't cut off any of your transients, any of your initial attack.
Yeah.
So for example, with the Sentry, I've got, and this is really clever. It used to have, you might have put your noise gate after your really noisy pedal, and the noise gate would shut it down, and then when you play, it would open up. But because it had so much noise, you had to set the trigger to a point where it would open when you hit it, but it would shut when you stopped playing. So you had to set just that point between noise and
I'm pretty sure I've been to a fair few metal tracking sessions where there's a tube screamer and some sort of dual rectifier or 5150 and an NS2 somewhere in there.
Right.
Or some other kind of noise. And I'm sure I've seen that. That's in my brain.
Sure. What the noise suppressor, the NS2 and the Sentry do is there's a loop. So at the moment I've got the entire pedal board in the loop of the Sentry. And what happens is, instead of listening for the noise to open the gate, it's listening for the input of the guitar. So it's got a much smaller, there's virtually, at that point, there's virtually no noise on it. So what it's hearing is really clean. So it knows exactly when to open the gate. So again, if I put the Fat Metal Pro on and the Tube Screamer, lots of stuff on. Now if I put the Sentry on, so what's happening now is my guitar is going in to the Sentry. The send of the loop is going into the pedal board. The output of the pedal, the output of, so the output of the last loop on here is going back into the loop here.
So the whole board is in the Sentry's loop.
Yep, and then the output is going back in here to go through the two outputs.
Does it have analog drive-through, Dan? Wow. Holy moly.
Yep. So it's analog drive-through. So here's what happens. With my guitar turned up,
keep playing. You know what I'm going to say, don't you?
No.
Sounds better with it off.
Yeah, well, the way we've got it set at the moment is really severe.
Oh, okay.
All right. So it is. So yeah, I can turn it off here. So.
That's amazing.
It's impressive, isn't it?
That is absolutely bonkers.
So,
pathetic, isn't it?
It's so much fun.
When I try and play rock, it's just pathetic.
So you can hear, though, if that is a sound that you need, and certainly, you know, for a lot of the really heavy guys and the gent style players, it's actually become a part of that sound.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine living without it, in fact.
Yeah. But it's like, now the whole board's in there. It's gone. So the trick is setting that gate so that you're getting sustain.
So it's slightly less sensitive than it was.
Yeah. So if I put the threshold down a bit.
Yep, so I've got the guitar turned all the way up.
Yep.
So presumably at some point.
There it is.
We apologise to anybody listening. I'm just going to stop. I have literally no idea about that kind of thing. That's amazing.
It's great, isn't it?
It really is amazing.
Right.
I still think I prefer the sound of it off though. I'm actually not sure I prefer the sound of it off. I think it just freaks me out when it turns on and off.
Right. Okay.
I don't know. I think I can hear a difference. Can you hear a difference?
I
can hear like a
bottom end thing.
Bottom end thing and just some weird phasing thing, but
I don't know. I think we've got a lot of top end in there, sort of to accentuate the.
And just a soupçon of gain as well.
Yeah, maybe, but without it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, it's very impressive. But the thing is, you can tailor that. So it has tone prints, so certain guys have it set up certain ways. You can gate certain frequencies.
Right.
You know, if all you want to get rid of is a certain high-end hiss, then you can just gate those and let everything else through. It's really clever.
Yeah, and so what's the difference between that and whatever noise gates there have been before then? Do they all have loops, for example?
No, they don't all have loops. And so you would put that after your really loud, noisy pedal.
Yeah, okay.
And try and set that threshold between the noise, the ambient noise, the noise when you're not playing.
Yeah.
And so you've got to set the threshold so it knows it when you have started playing. Whereas this, it's just looking for the input from the guitar. So if it's not seeing any input from the guitar, it knows.
I'll do my best in the audio edit to make that less unpleasant than it actually is.
Yeah. But that's, you know, when you get that... So I would probably set this a bit harder, so it grabbed that faster.
You wouldn't set it at all, would you? Let's be honest. There's going to be no point in your life where you're setting that.
This is, yeah.
Yeah. Which is
right.
Which is not to say that it's not useful.
But so one cool thing about the Type Metal Pro,
yeah,
is that it has a noise gate built in.
See, I remember when we first looked at this, being impressed with this, because my experience of noise gates has always been that you can never quite get the front and the back of the note quite right.
Right.
And it's doing its job.
Yeah.
But this, I seem to remember doing a pretty good job of it.
Yeah. So if I turn it, if you play for us.
Oh, good. Oh, I see.
The noise gate on, so
these
that's-
It's not working.
If you... Yeah, but it wouldn't work on the Sentry either if you did that. If you started off with feedback.
Okay, let's see if I can make the noise gate work. Does it work with that guitar?
Yeah, so it's just...
it's doing a considerable job, actually.
yeah, it's cutting, you know, a bit of that top end.
You
But
know,
it's got...
it's not like I'm using a guitar known for its terrible low-end feedback in a very high-gain environment or anything.
But, so that's like a frequency-dependent gate. It's just taking off the top end.
Yeah.
Right? Right, so that's the gate. Let's have a look at the noise suppressor. Now what I've done is I've got the noise suppressor set up in the gain channel, so of the Victory. So the whole preamp I've got set up in the noise suppressor. So if you can get that...
And by that you mean that the effects, the noise suppressor is in the amp's effects loop. Yeah?
Exactly, the same thing... This
is the amp in the noise suppressor's effects loop, and what's the difference?
Right. The same thing that we did with the Sentry. The guitar is going into the input of the Sentry. The pedal board is in the loop of the Sentry, then the output hits the amp.
Right.
With the noise gate, the guitar goes into the noise gate, the preamp is in the loop of the Sentry, and then the output hits the power amp. All right, so
Right,
follow
nice.
me now. Guitar in, send into the input of the amplifier, effects send from the amplifier to the effects return of the noise gate, output of the noise gate to the effects return, which is the power amp return of the amp. So if you imagine that think of the preamp like a pedal, all right, and you're getting all your gain and stuff there. That whole section is now in the loop of the noise gate. Okay.
So go to the naughty channel then.
So naughty channel. So this is without any noise suppressor. So there's the noise suppressor on.
Oh wow.
So
Holy moly. I mean that is actually playable as well,
Yeah.
whereas I found the other two very difficult to play because
Right.
my notes there, right?
And that's the difference. It's not a gate as such. It's just suppressing the noise, but there's still signal. There's still.
Oh, hang on, sorry.
There's still. There's still signal there, but it's just suppressing the noise. But as soon as you play, it opens up to full frequency again. Okay, and without it.
Wow.
There you go.
I had no idea that they were used in that fashion.
Right.
I just assumed you put it on your pedal board.
Yeah. So, and they did for a long time. The problem was always, how do you set the level? If you've got we had the tube screamer going into a Fat Metal Pro, so much gain. How do you set that threshold so that it knows, well, with all that noise, but I'm not playing, so it's going to cut off, at quite a high level, and it won't be until an even higher level comes in that the gate opens. And the issue with that has always been that it's always missed the first part of your note.
Yeah. Well, that felt really good. Just a quick question. We have got the reflection in the loop as well, so that's just sat in the loop with it, is it?
Sat in the loop with it. So if you imagine the preamp send has gone out into the noise suppressor, and then guitar into the noise suppressor, out from the send of the noise suppressor into the input of the amplifier, effects send from the amplifier into the input of the loop of the noise suppressor. The output of the noise suppressor goes into the input of the Wampler, out of the Wampler back into the effects return. So the reverb is basically the last thing in the chain.
So it's cutting the tails of the reverb as well?
No, it won't be. It's because what's happening is
right.
Yeah. It's cutting out there, and then that will
I guess it's just weird because it is cutting the signal.
Cutting the signal,
not cutting the reverb.
There you go.
Just a little bit of reverb. Surely it's... That's the sound.
Awesome.
No pedals there, by the way. That's just the amp.
Great.
Overdrive.
Try that with a tube screamer in the front. There you go.
Wow. Bit of gain there.
Yeah. Sounds amazing.
It does. It sounds very
And
nice.
how quiet it is with the noise suppressor on.
Yeah, so the amp, if you turn the noise suppressor off now, can you?
Yep.
Wow. So, sorry, I've got... And because the amp's very gained and there is a tube screamer, then that's amazing.
There you go.
That really is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, blimey, I've learned something.
And, you know, a big part of the reason is that we've sorted out. I think noise gates can work really well as long as you get everything else sorted out as well. You know, don't.
It's using it to solve the right problem.
Exactly. Because if you're solving the wrong problem with it, you'll have a nightmare trying to get that to sound good.
Yeah.
You know, but we've got, even with all that gain, because the basis of it is clean, you know, the power is clean. You don't have any extraneous, you know, high frequency digital noise on there as well. So it's, you know, it's opening and closing smoothly. It's detecting really smoothly. And
if we went back to, I'm not suggesting we do it, but if we went back to the daisy chain and you used the noise suppressor, then it would kill it all in the same way.
It would kill it all in the same way, absolutely.
But it's not killing that problem.
Exactly.
It's just masking that problem.
Exactly. And when you and when that opens, you've then still got all that other carry on with all the digital noise.
Yeah.
So for example, when it opens and you're after a cleaner delay sound, because, you know, we're using this on the heavy tones, but then if you went for a cleaner sound and you still had all that other noise problem, then that would be there in the cleaner sounds.
Sure.
There we go.
Fascinating, mate. Well done. I was bracing myself
for disappointment.
No. Just, you know, I guess it's an ongoing journey, isn't it? And you just learn stuff all the time. And I've never had a need for a noise gate or a noise suppressor, therefore I've always felt them totally pointless. But if you're in that world and you're using that much gain, then
I see. I wanted to wait until Rabia was around to do this with him, to do the gent stuff. But
I guess you can have two honks in your
he's a man worthy of multiple honks.
Yeah.
We will get him back because that's a whole other show. That sound and that style is, you know, it's amazing. It's not a place that we occupy. So I'd rather talk to him about that as opposed to noise stuff, because there's so much to do with noise. The noise suppressors and noise gates, if the question is, should I buy a noise gate? Well, you need to answer all those other questions first.
Yeah.
So, you know, which is why we left the noise gates to the end, because it's really important that you go through that, you know, process of elimination and make
number
sure.
one, chuck the daisy chain away and buy some good isolated power, and be aware that there'll be a load of comments that go, please can you review all the commonly available power bricks? And the answer is no, for two reasons. One is Dan makes a fabulous power system that we use, and we use exclusively for two reasons. One is it's the best.
Well, thank you. That's
Spare
very
your
kind.
blushes, mate. And two, because we've got it. We don't need anything else.
Yeah.
And a lot of those power bricks are pretty good, but
Yeah,
I've found that they're never as isolated as they say they are, and I don't understand what that means.
Okay.
And the cleanliness of some of them. I can remember when you built my first pedal board and I handed you my power supply at the time, and you looked at me like I'd done a poo in your car.
Again.
Yeah. And I was like, well, that's a bit unnecessary, mate. You know, that's not fair. It's not that bad. And the look on your face, you didn't have the words to tell me that things were going to be different in about 2 hours. And by golly, they were different.
Yeah.
It was night and day.
Yeah.
Chalk and cheese. Chalk and night.
I just think people underestimate
night
how
and cheese.
important
We
it
are
is.
going to have to do a T-shirt with that
Night
one.
and cheese, chalk and day.
Sorry.
It's fundamental.
Yeah. And we're going to prove it again because, you know, watch the Kirk Fletcher video, watch the Matt Schofield video. Simon McBride's coming in a couple of weeks, and we're going to do it again.
Right.
To go, look, chuck that daisy chain in the bin, or that not brilliantly well sorted power brick, and just do it properly if you care.
The other thing is, look, you know, daisy chains have been around for a long time. I would never use a daisy chain on a professional board. However, if that's what you've got and that's all you can afford, then that's what you've got.
Or if you've got a tube screamer, a C2, and basically not any modern crazy digital delay, then you're not going to get the problems because you don't have all that digital crappy noise.
Yes, but if you do, you won't get the same problems. But if you do get problems and you need a solution, then put batteries in them.
Right.
You know, that's not a long-term solution, obviously, but if you've got noise and you can't afford to go out and buy a really great supply...
Because a battery is a brilliant isolated power supply.
Because a battery is the best isolated power supply,
Yeah.
and the pedal's designed to run on that. So, you know, that's another way out of it.
Can you do a show on batteries versus power?
Yes, we can. I would love to do that show. Okay, the next thing is the amount of gain, and the next thing was the noise with the guitar, and being aware that if you've got single coil pickups, then they're going to be more susceptible.
I've grown totally accustomed to it. If I'm
me too.
playing live and I turn my guitar up and there isn't an ungodly hum, I think something is wrong. And it's part of the frisson for me. It's part of, and then, you know, because you spend so many years working out how to deal with it and how to get rid of it, and I don't know, I just feel bizarre if it's not there these days.
Awesome. Yes, so that, and sometimes just be aware that you might not need that much gain. You know, if you're getting squealing, if it's not just background noise, if what you're getting is squealing, just try knocking the gain down a little bit, because that once you get to a point where it's squealing, you're not actually getting any more gain. You're just adding more interference for this. There we go.
Fascinating.
Ah, brilliant. Well, thank you guys, and I hope you enjoyed that as well. Please leave a comment. You know, really appreciate reading all your comments.
Are we going to do a show on comparing all the noise gates and suppressors out there, Dan?
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
Because, look, there's a lot out there. There are plenty of videos with guys A-being noise suppressors. Best bet, head down to Anderton's or Pedal Empire
or Riff City.
Riff City Guitar.
Your local friendly guitar shop.
Your local friendly guitar shop.
Go there.
And try a few. But there's some really good options out there.
I'm assuming that both of these come fairly unreservedly recommended at this point.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
The G-string decimator is another really good one.
Decimator.
The Decimator. ISP G-string decimator.
Yeah, is that ISP? They're big in that world, aren't they?
Yeah.
Everyone makes one, don't they? MXR make them.
Yeah, the Smart Cake from MXR is really great. Yeah. The Electro-Harmonics do something. They do a hum debugger, which is a different thing altogether. It's basically, you have a mains hum, 50 hertz or 60 hertz, and that gets picked up and can get picked up especially with single coil guitars. And what that does is it basically digitizes your signal, works out where the mains noise is coming from, gets rid of it, reassembles your signal and sends it out. Some guys use them and get good results. I've never managed to get good results from one yet. The idea of
the Australian ambassador for diplomacy.
Well, the idea of going through an AD converter for me is just no thanks. Anyway, there we go. Thank you so much, guys. Massive thank you to our patrons on Patreon. Really appreciate it. Hammer Legends, all of you. Also, as we mentioned just before, our preferred retailers in the UK and Europe.
Anderton's Music of Guildford, Surrey.
In Brisbane, Australia.
Pedal Empire of Brisbane, Queensland.
Of Brisbane, Queensland. Good man. And Minnesota. Minnesota?
New Hope, Minnesota.
New Hope, Minnesota.
I think they're opening a new... I saw a post saying that they were doing something in a new place. Whether that's an event or something else, I don't know. Anyway, Riff City Guitar, check those guys out.
We know these guys. We're good friends with all these guys. They're great. I just want to say congrats to Andertons and Lee at NAMM.
Summer NAMM.
They just won best
everything.
Best retailer in the world.
Most amazing everything.
Best, most amazing everything. And they came back with gold and ornamental things.
Best social media engagement or something.
Fantastic. So congrats guys. It's fantastic. Well deserved. Yes, so finally, if you want to head over to thatpedalshowstore.com and check out our wares. What, this one?
Yeah. All shades of red
We
and
should have
purple
some.
going
We should
on
have
today.
some new ones by the time
Yes,
this video goes out as well.
1969 reissue tees
Fabulato.
from when we were new.
Cheers, guys. Thanks so much. Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you soon.
Cheerio!
Bye. Awesome. That was awesome.